All right, well, it's great to be here this afternoon and step into the presenter's box. I thought it was kind of funny that we had a presenter's box when we're thinking outside the box. And I'm out, and I'm in. So I'm here to talk a little bit about mountains having been my teachers. And I had a yoga teacher once who said, work the body you have today. And so for this afternoon, I'm going to present the presentation I have today, which actually looks like nothing like the presentation I planned. And that's just a wonderful thing about sitting here and listening to the different ideas and wanting to evolve and shift and go with it. So I began climbing mountains at about the same time that I began to study Buddhism. And so this wonderful picture was drawn by a grade 4 student at C.C. Laughlin in Corner Brook. And I love that they included the prayer flags. And prayer flags fly in Nepal and Tibet at high mountain summits. And the different colors represent the different elements. And I love the idea that when the wind blows, the prayers get said. So I think here in our province, we're excellent at doing that. And I want to start with a little bit of an equation for today. And mountain approximates teacher. Mountains, since we don't have that many of them in our province, I'm going to take it and say that mountains kind of approximate nature. And nature approximates trees. And trees produce sap. And I'm a very big fan of acronyms. My name's an acronym. And so SAP then is significant adult persons. And I think one of the things that we need as in our world is we need wonderful, amazing citizens. I did, like many of the speakers today, trip up on the word citizen because it had so much baggage attached to it, kind of like the backpack that I carry up mountains. And so I think in some ways of citizens as significant adult people and significant young people. But what I'm asking you to do today is to become a significant adult person in the lives of our youth. And therefore you become a mountain. And you also, therefore, then become a teacher. So when we have children and we combine them with nature and significant adult people, then we have wonderful, amazing citizens. And, I think it was someone wonderful who said, be the change you want to see in the world. And I think I've taken the approach of being the citizen that I want to be the citizen that I want to be surrounded with. And so in taking on this particular peak, this is Mount Everest, and I first saw it in 2005. This is from the Tibetan side. And when I was there, when I talk to kids in schools, I talk about us having an inner pufferfish. And it's that passion, it's that thing that pokes us at the belly, and when something gets its attention, it blows up inside us. And ideally, we have the chance, or we create the opportunities to follow it. And so it was in that moment that I knew, even though I had no idea how I would ever do the fundraising, that I wanted to try to climb this mountain. But I also knew at the same time that I wanted it to be much more than climbing this mountain, because I can stand on lots of different pieces of topography. So I decided to bring the youth of our province along with me, inspiring them to have their own big dreams and their big goals, and also to become more physically active, because I think that's important. So people will say to me, T.A., how is it that you came to be able to decide that you wanted to climb Mount Everest? And one is, I'll say, early exposure to great high places and risk. And I think we do live in a world that we want now, I think, as a society to be extremely safe. And we want to bubble wrap our kids. And so I want to get more kids out onto garage roofs with their dads. This is me with my pet frog. I want to get more kids out in nature. Because I think when we have that connection to the natural environment, we have more of a tendency of wanting to protect it. We only protect things we know. So we need to know the nature that surrounds ourselves. And also lots of the research is coming about how vital being in nature is to our health and our wellness. I have a colleague at the university who said, after reading some of meta-analysis of exercising outdoors, says no one should ever exercise indoors ever again. So go outside, people, go outside. I also had the benefit of having very significant adult persons in my community, those that ran my brownie troop. And I'll digress very briefly to say that this was a wonderful moment. Not many people have seen this image of me. And I'm celebrating the fact that I got to come home from my new troop and I got to stay a fairy. Because earlier in the day, they tried to make me a sprite, and sprites had green badges, and that just didn't work with my brown and gold uniform. I also was lucky enough to be surrounded by adults who were physically active and who exposed me to a large number of physical activities. This is my dad teaching me to scuba dive. It was moments later that I ended up face first in the muck, and that was exciting, but his big hand was there to pull me out. I got to ski, and I got to run, and I got to play. And thinking of feminism, the best thing I think we can do for our girls is to teach them to be physically literate. We need to give our boys and our girls that ability to develop confidence in their bodies and to get out there and do that. And one of the reasons I think I decided to start speaking in schools was that I had wonderful teachers, and I wanted to give back to those teachers, to my grade 11 English teacher, Mr. Hamilton, who taught me how to write, but he also taught me how to climb. And he gave me the best piece of advice I never listened to, which was, he said, don't make the outdoors your work, because if you make it your work, it can't be your play. But in fact, I've been a master of the ultimate mashup, of taking work and play and putting them together. And I think that's what wanted me to get into schools and start talking to kids about their big dreams and their big goals. And also because of these two wonderful young ones. This is my niece and my nephew with their great-grandmother, my grandmother, Frida, who is one of my mountains. She's 94, and she still walks the stairs to her fourth-story apartment. And it was she that taught me about the strength that I had and has been a wonderful encourager. So as I've reached out to kids, of course, they've reached back to me, and they give you the most wonderful greeting cards. And this is one of my absolute favorites. It says, "Good luck, Ms. T.A. Loeffler. Make sure you wear your safety equipment." And when you open up the card, it says, "So you won't take an unpleasant trip." And it's wonderful when children learn that I'm coming to their schools. One of the things they do is go on my website, and they write to me about what their dreams are. And they send me wonderful cards like this that keep me going when the times are tough for me. And they tell me about what their dreams are. And you're looking at me here in this image, crushed. Absolutely shattered. This is the day I decided to end my first Everest attempt. And it was absolutely crushing to turn my back on a lifelong dream when the entire province was pushing me forward and wanting me to go, but realizing I wasn't strong enough and resilient enough in that moment. And when I got back home, my Buddhist teacher said to me, "You know, T.A., you will have more impact and you will make more of a difference having not summited than if you had." And it was, in that moment, not what I wanted to hear, but she was absolutely true. Because what I realized very instantly was I needed to be as visible, having not summited the mountain, as if I had. Because I'd been in 45 schools before I went saying it's important to have big dreams and big goals. And if I had disappeared, then some kid might have seen that maybe I was ashamed, or I didn't want to show that I had given my best, and my best wasn't quite there that day, that I didn't get to climb as high as I wanted. So I pushed myself out, even though I was sick and I was disappointed, to be out in the community. Because when you hold a position of a public dreamer, which is in some ways what I see myself as, someone who dreams in public, who's willing to put my sort of dreams on the line, that you have to be out there no matter what the outcome is. And this is a painting that my niece did for me, and I absolutely adore it, in that she's placed herself in the picture. Her name is Rain, and she put a capital R there because she wanted to be a part of the expedition. Her middle name is Amorous, it's the moon. She wanted to watch over me, and she put her handprint in the middle of the mountain so I would have a hand to hold when it got steep. And when I got home after the mountain, I was talking to her on the phone, and she said, "Auntie, you didn't get to go all the way up the mountain." I said, "No, Rain, sometimes we don't get to climb as high as we want to." She got very thoughtful, and she paused, and then she said, "Well, maybe next time I'll paint the mountain shorter so you can get to the top." And I think as we build the kinds of community that we've been talking about today, as we come together as active, engaged citizens, as we do on the mountain, as we get on the same rope. On the mountain, we literally tie ourselves together and take every step in unison, so if one of us falls into a crevasse, we can stop them from getting any deeper and pull them out. As we move forward, and as we have this vision that we can create a world of engaged, active citizens, we do indeed paint the mountain shorter for all of us. Thank you very much.